Hello, my name is Kristen Kelly, and this is my second Intro to Psych video journal. I read chapters 3, 4, and 5 for this unit, but I'm primarily going to talk about chapter 3 because that was what I found most interesting and relevant to my life. In chapter 3, it talked a lot about human growth and development and how nature and nurture actually are very cohesive and they work together in a lot of ways. And I didn't realize how much genetics actually affects how we grow up. I kind of had this idea that as a mom, I guess, because I really want to be a mom, and I had this idea that I would have a lot of influence over my children, which I will have a lot of influence, and it talked about that with like different attachments and how it forms attachments later on. But there are also a lot of qualities like personality and temperament that are innate in children, and I think something that this really brought out to me was that as a mom, I really want to be enhancing the qualities that God's already created them with, because God made my kids to be a certain way, and He gave them a certain purpose, and I want to be looking for those characteristics, and because nature and nurture play off of each other, I want to be nurturing the characteristics that He created them with, because each child's different, and I want to be helping them to grow in the way that God created them. And so I thought that was really cool, and it really related to me and how I want to, in the future, be a mom. Something else that I found really interesting was when they talked about autism, they called it a impaired theory of mind, which is pretty much when you don't really have the idea to put yourself in the perspective of other people. And this is really interesting to me because my brother actually has autism and Down syndrome. And so I've been able to see this type of thing. He's actually nonverbal, and neurologically, he is a 5-month-old, even though he's 16. Well, he was. Recently, my family discovered this place called the Family Hope Center, and we've actually been doing a lot of therapy with him. It's a different kind of therapy that primarily relies on creeping and crawling. And so he's been creeping and crawling all over the house. And over the past couple of years, he's actually developed a ton. So now he's actually a 19-month-old, just through doing these different exercises. And it's really cool to see because he only really started developing cognitively recently. I've been able to see the stages that they talked about in the book a lot more clearly because it's very relevant to what I'm seeing with him. And so one chart that I found particularly relevant to what I've been seeing was Erik Erikson's stages of psychological development. And so in the first stage, it talks about you're battling this trust versus mistrust, which I really liked because I can finally see my brother actually trusting my parents more than, say, a stranger. Before, he didn't realize what environment he was in, where he was, what people he was with. He just kind of like, bleh, he didn't really know or care. But now he's actually starting to want to be around my parents more than other people, and trusting his therapists more. And I've been able to see this battle in his mind. Also, really recently, he's actually started developing more emotions and feeling more shame for his actions, which is, it talks about with toddlers, they have the battle between autonomy and shame and doubt. And so that's been really cool because he's actually developing emotions and crying sometimes if he does something that my parents don't really approve of, and realizing his own faults, which is really cool because he's never done that before. And so as I've read through this chapter, I've been able to relate a lot of what I've been reading to my brother. And I think it's also enabled me to see life in a different way, because if I know the different stages that different people are going through, um, I can better help them and bring God into their life with whatever they're going through, even if I'm not going through that stage in my life. Just like I can help a middle schooler going through an identity crisis, or I can, help an infant go through trust issues. And so being able to respond to people differently and know how to bring God into that situation has been really enlightening to be able to read about.